UFC Vegas 93. These are the full card predictions and the betting breakdown. Looking forward to talking about each of the matchups on this card. So make sure you guys smash the like button. If you're new, subscribe. Turn the post notifications on and make sure you share the video as well. And also note, Fight Companion going down Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Let's jump right into the card. Starting things off, we have Nuerdanbieke versus Melquizael Costa. I'm picking Nuerdanbieke here to win this fight. He's a more physically imposing threat in the grappling than Costa, and he also has way more punching power, and I think overall just a stronger guy who's had more high-tier opponents inside of the UFC, so the veteran savviness a little bit for him here. And truth is, Melquizael Costa, questionable fight IQ. That Steve Garcia fight, I know they both lost to Steve Garcia, but very different types of fights. Melquizael Costa just tried to grapple him the whole first round and then completely gassed out. He doesn't have the physical strength to body Nuerdanbieke either. So if he tries to impose his will like that, I can see him getting tired. And then when you're looking at the kickboxing game, Nuerdanbieke has better hands. He's got the better boxing skill, and he has more power. Melquizael Costa's slick from the outside. He's not a bad fighter. I just think physicality disadvantage here, and also Nuerdanbieke being pretty dangerous. I think southpaw stance for Costa being upright as he is, I can see him getting caught with an overhand punch from Nuerdanbieke. I think Nuerdanbieke could even take him down and beat him up. I'm definitely seeing a knockdown, and I think a KO is live here, but I also could see Nuerdanbieke winning a decision, outworking Costa over the 3 rounds. I do think Nuerdanbieke's got a higher work rate and has a better gas tank than Melquizael Costa, especially in fights that are very embrace the grind heavy. Nuerdanbieke is the underdog in this fight, sitting at plus 145. Melquizael Costa's minus 170, the favorite. The over is minus 145. Close money over. I like Nuerdanbieke as a dog. I think he's live here. Melquizael Costa would have to be tremendous in this fight because I'm losing faith in him, man. I'm losing faith. 1-2 in the UFC. The win was against Austin Lingo, and that's not really a high-caliber win. All Lingo can do is box. Nuerdanbieke's got knockout power, and he has wrestling skill. And I have a hard time seeing Costa lock up some type of submission on Nuerdanbieke. Both of them coming off knockout losses to Steve Garcia, but different fights. At the very least, there's positives for Nuerdanbieke. He dropped Steve Garcia, had him hurt in the first round. Sure, he was hurt too, and then dropped with a beautiful body punch in the second to get finished. But Costa just tried to panic grapple him the whole round, gassed, and then got the shit kicked out of him in the second round. We're going Nuerdanbieke as an underdog here. Let's keep on running up. Next fight on the card. The ladies going after it here. Julia Polastri, Josephine Knutsson. I really think Josephine Knutsson is just technically superior everywhere, and she's also like the better athlete. Certain women's fights, it's like some girls have athletic tools, some girls don't. Julia Polastri has decent enough skills, and like on paper, a 12-3 record is tremendous. But that fight on Contender Series for her, like she was throwing sloppy, slapping shots on the feet a little bit. Her opponent ultimately had no ground skills, and that's where Polastri shined. Whereas Josephine Knutsson is a skilled kickboxer, strong, good control in the clinch, picks her shots well. Josephine Knutsson's on a cruise to a 30-27 win. I think Knutsson has the ability in the future to be ranked. My argument for her, though, is she damn is not a finisher. I mean, a lot of ladies' fights don't get finishes, but I would love to see if Knutsson could end up getting a stoppage here. I just doubt it. 30-27, Josephine Knutsson to win in her second UFC fight against the debuting Polastri, and she deserves to be a minus 210 favorite here. I think she's going to dominate. Polastri plus 180 is the dog, over 2.5, minus 350. I like Knutsson. I think minus 210 is honestly a fair tag. Polastri 12-3 record looks good on paper, but like I don't think she has the skills of Knutsson. She definitely doesn't have the physicality of Knutsson. She doesn't have the athleticism of Knutsson. Josephine Knutsson's going to go out there and do her thing. And I'm picking her to pull it off. I'm going to say unanimous decision, 30-27. Typical fight for Josephine and a dominant win over Polastri, who's a Contender Series winner, as is Knutsson, but I just think Knutsson's more evolved than her. I know Knutsson didn't even get signed from Contender Series because it was like too boring. That was the complaint, right? But then she eventually found her way in the UFC. The dominant skill set is definitely there, and I see her winning a 30-27 decision over Julia Polastri. Let's keep running. Next fight on the card, we have Jeka Saragih versus Westin Wilson. Give me Jeka Saragih by first round knockout. Westin Wilson is the poor man's Wonderboy. He trains alongside Wonderboy. He's 35. He's like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson's dorkier brother who just lacks the athletic tools that he implies, you know, and he imposes and he's blessed with. Jeka Saragih has legit KO power. He's at 145 now. It's way better. I know he lost to Andrew Jubli, and it's kind of a bad loss per se. But that was up in weight, the wrestling style. It's a different matchup. Saragih got a big knockout of Lucas Alexander in the debut in the 45-pound division for his UFC run. And he's a powerhouse for sure. Westin Wilson's a pretty upright karate-style fighter. I think there's a lot of opportunities to land bombs for Jeka Saragih. I'm picking Saragih. I'm picking first-round knockout. Gene Silva's got a first-round knockout of Wilson. And Joe Anderson Brito stopped him with ground and pound. Wilson's an awkward style. He's a little tall and long. Definitely got the reach, though, right? 6'1" to 5'8", 4-inch reach advantage. But it's not like Westin Wilson's going to box your face off. He's going to make it weird until you finish him. So I think Saragih finds the chin and dusts him. Odds for the fight. Saragih is minus 325, the favorite. Wilson is a plus 275 underdog. The under 1.5 is minus 220. I'm going to anticipate it's probably going under 1.5. Saragih's a first-round finisher. Wilson's a guy that gets finished in the first round. Saragih via KO in brutal fashion here. Wilson is a journeyman, and I don't think he's UFC level at all. Saragih's still an interesting prospect. Let's keep running. Next fight. The ladies going after it here. It's Carli Judice versus Gabriela Fernandes. Now, a lot of these ladies' fights make no sense. I mean, last card, all three ladies' dogs pulled it off. This one on paper, it's like, yeah, probably both of the women's favorites win. Well, I'm not doing it. I'm not falling for the trap. I'm picking Carli Judice. There are Holly Holm-esque pieces to her game. Like, I see Judice as a girl with a lot of potential. I know you're going to say, AJ, you're probably crazy. And maybe I am. Ernesta Karashkeda, split decision loss for Judice in a very competitive fight. She was a high-tier kickboxer. Gabriela Fernandes is a good striker as well. And where she's fallen in fights is against these beastly grapplers. Jasmine Jasdavicius, losing to Teresa Bleda. On the ground, she sucks. I know Carli Judice hasn't shown elite wrestling, but I do think Carli Judice is a better striker than both Teresa Bleda and Jasmine Jasdavicius. So being more competitive in the stand-up with Gabriela Fernandes and not necessarily needing to panic shoot takedowns may in itself open up more opportunities to grapple. And it's women's MMA. So we're going Carli Judice as an underdog. I'm going to pick her. I think she can pull through and win. Gabriela Fernandes has got some nasty kicks. She's got some power in her hands too. There's things to like for her, 100%. And she may body Carli Judice, and, you know, things might be logical on this card. But I do think Judice is a scrappy girl that could give her a hard fight. She's not going to go down easy. I know Fernandes seems to have a lot of power, but she's very upright and tall, and she wings hard shots, more of like a slapping power strike as opposed to like sitting on it and throwing it beautifully straight down the center. So I'm going to say Judice could win by a surprising split decision. I feel like the southpaw stance of Fernandes is interesting. Let's see how Judice responds to it. Maybe Judice is hitting single legs and taking her down. If I'm Team Judice, I'm planning on mixing in takedowns here. I'm going Judice for a split decision win. Odds for the fight, Judice is a plus 205 underdog. Gabriela Fernandes is minus 240, the favorite. Over is minus 175. Yeah, we're going with underdog Judice at plus 205 because it's women's MMA, and I think she could be live for a close decision win over a pretty one-dimensional Gabriela Fernandes. And if Judice could time some takedowns, I think this could turn into a pretty competitive fight. And Judice had like the fight of the Contender Series against Karashkeda in what was an epic war. So she's definitely got the gas tank to mix it up and go long here. So Judice for the W. Let's keep running. Next fight on the card, Garrett Armfield versus Brady Hiestand. I'm going Garrett Armfield all day in this fight. I think everything Brady does, Garrett does better. Garrett's got good boxing from the outside. He's got stinging power and pretty quick hands. He's got good wrestling too, good grappling defense. He's very physically strong. I think he's a better wrestler than Brady Hiestand. He pulled off a nice comeback last time against Batkari Dana, win over Fernie Garcia. But, dude, this Ricky Tercios loss has aged horribly. Now, it may have been a little bit of a controversial split decision. It could have went Brady's way, and it was for the Ultimate Fighter crown. So I guess we got to give him some respect on it. But Garrett Armfield, I think, is just beyond that level. He dominated Brad Katona. I guess dominated maybe is overstretching the word, but he beat Brad Katona pretty cleanly last time out. I feel like Garrett Armfield's skill set is there, man. I feel like he throws good from the outside. He finds big shots on Brady. I think he's the physically stronger guy. He'll out-muscle and out-wrestle Brady if they tie up. If we're talking boxing, I think Garrett Armfield is better. I don't see Brady Hiestand beating him. Garrett Armfield, unanimous decision. Armfield's a minus 165 favorite, minus 155 if you get lucky. And then looking at the over's minus 185. I just like Garrett Armfield money line. It just got wider, minus 175 now. I think Garrett Armfield is a lock this week. High confidence pick, Garrett Armfield. I think he's pulling off a unanimous decision over Brady Hiestand. I think Hiestand's decent, though, and he's got okay potential. It's just Armfield's actually pretty damn good. And like 2 of the 3 losses for Armfield are against David Onama, who's an absolute powerhouse in the weight class above him. So, you know, Garrett Armfield, he's pretty good. When he fights at featherweight, it's a little harder. At bantamweight, his natural weight class, I think he's going to run a smooth W here, and I'm taking him over Brady Hiestand. So Garrett Armfield for the win. Let's keep running up. Next fight on the card, we have Nate Maness versus Jimmy Flick. Nate Maness is going to obliterate Jimmy Flick. Flick retired from MMA after his debut against Cody Durden, and I remember the tweet. He said, I want to go be a dad. I want to be there for my kids. Great. God bless you. He decides, no, actually, I changed my mind. I want to come back to MMA. Charles Johnson knocks him out, little early stoppage. Alessandro Costa knocks him out, and then he wins against Malcolm Gordon, one of the worst flyweights on the roster. And now he's taking on Nate Maness, who's actually good. Nate Maness's only losses in the UFC are against Dagestan fighters. Ulanbekov, Umar Nurmagomedov. Like, come on. Nate Maness is going to destroy Jimmy Flick. He's got good grappling defense. He's got really slick hands. He's got stinging power. I think Nate Maness is going to tee up Jimmy Flick and destroy him in the first round and get a pretty impressive knockout win. So give me Nate Maness. Give me knockout. He's another one that feels like a lock this week. Maness is minus 450. That makes sense. Flick plus 350 is the dog. Under 1.5, minus 160. I'll say we're going under. I think it is live to go under. Nate Maness is going to destroy Jimmy Flick striking. Flick is slow and stiff on the feet. In the picture here, Jimmy Flick looks to be about 45. He's got the speed and movement of a guy 47. So I think Nate Maness is going to tee him up. Way slicker striker, good grappling defense, coming off a big win over Mateus Mendoza, and he was a big dog in that fight. So Nate Maness to get the KO win over Jimmy Flick, it makes a lot of sense. And listen, I've been a Jimmy Flick believer in the past. I picked him with Malcolm Gordon. He almost lost that fight. But now, not here. Nate Maness is going to tee him up. And shout out Nate Maness for doing an interview with me when I first started the channel. Absolute OG. Nate Maness, devastating knockout. Easy win. Next fight on the card is our featured prelim of the night. We got Tagir Ulanbekov versus Joshua Van. I'm picking Tagir Ulanbekov, and like everybody's getting hype about Joshua Van. Looking at this, Van is 59% of the people's pick, so he's like a world-famous underdog this week. I know people personally who have him in parlays, like mixed in with other sports and all, and I'm like, dog, I've been making mistakes of fading Dagestan. I'm done with that. Tagir Ulanbekov is extremely good. His only loss in the UFC is a split decision loss to Tim Elliott in a fight where there were a lot of fouls that weren't called. Tagir Ulanbekov is slick on the feet. He's got nasty jiu-jitsu, very good wrestling, Dagestan-style fighter. I think he's live to beat Joshua Van. I think he's probably going to control Van a ton in the grappling positions. I think he's going to take Joshua Van's back. I'm going to say Ulanbekov by submission. I think decision or submission are live, but I definitely could see Ulanbekov finding his way to Van's back and getting under the neck, especially with Ulanbekov's frame. 5'7", 70-inch reach for 125. He has a really good frame, especially being an offensive-based grappler. To take backs with those long arms, man, you can lock some things in nicely. He's obviously known for a good guillotine. The front headlock position is pretty money for Ulanbekov. Joshua Van's a nasty striker. I think Joshua Van is a future contender, actually. I just think it's too soon against Tagir Ulanbekov. He's 22 right now, is Joshua Van. Ulanbekov is really good. Ulanbekov is Tapology's number 11 flyweight. He's ranked somewhere amongst that with the actual UFC official rankings. This is a massive competition jump for Joshua Van, one that I don't feel he's going to shine in. But it's going to be a loss that I think does good for him in the future. Like, as a Joshua Van believer in the long term, I think this isn't a bad loss to have. I think losing to Ulanbekov is a sensible loss, and maybe he gets his wrestling game teed up, and in the future, maybe he's challenging for a belt. Because at 22, the world is his fucking oyster here, especially the UFC's flyweight division. He's got a ton of future and promise. But I think right now, Ulanbekov is actually really good. He's become one of the more underrated guys in the flyweight division, because at times he has amp performances, but subbed up Cody Durden, subbed up Nate Maness. Obviously, the Tim Elliott fight, that was like almost 2.5 years ago now. And Tim Elliott's a tricky guy to deal with. I'm going Ulanbekov for the W here. He's going to beat Joshua Van. He's going to get him down. We've seen Van taken down last time too with Bunez. But when Ulanbekov gets you down, it's dominance. Minus 225 for Ulanbekov. Joshua Van plus 190. Over 2.5 minus 160. I think Ulanbekov sub or decision would be the line. I'm not saying throw it all down on the sub prop, man. I know he's a little bit of a wide favorite, Ulanbekov, but I do think he wins, and the veteran savviness will come in handy. Ulanbekov has only lost uber competitive fights that essentially could have gone his way. So I think Ulanbekov for a win over Joshua Van makes a ton of sense here. And that's the official pick. I think sub or decision. If he gets the back of Van, he could lock up a sub, but I could see him working him too for 3 rounds and getting pretty clean 30-27 decision. Van on the feet is sensational, though. Van on the feet's going to let some bombs fly. He's got to be confident here. But I think Ulanbekov's consistent grappling game will be too much for him. And it's not like Ulanbekov's a bad striker. He can box too. He can kickbox nicely. And he's long. Let's jump to our main card opener. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash the likes. If you're new, subscribe to the channel. Adam Fugitt versus Josh Quinlan. I almost said Fugitt. I'm going to go with him. But fuck that. I'm going with Josh Quinlan by knockout. I have faded Josh Quinlan quite a bit recently because I have said the ex-steroid user and then admitting to do, he admitted he was doing it, admitting it to the world. I think I want the sociopathic steroid user that's saying, no, I've been natural forever, like maybe John Jones. But okay, this level of matchup, I don't care about the past. Josh Quinlan has legit KO power. Adam Fugitt comes in reckless, man. And if you sit on your punches with him, you can catch him coming inside crazy. Even though Fugitt has these long arms, 77-inch reach, he doesn't really use it. He's not a boxer from range. He's not like Danny Barlow, Josh Quinlan's last opponent, or Trey Waters, Josh Quinlan's opponent before that, who knows how to use their reach. Adam Fugitt's going to get in your face and make it a brawl. And Josh Quinlan's going to find openings. If Fugitt's chin, he's been getting tested. I know Mike Malott subbed him, but he got dropped by Mike Malott. He got knocked out in his debut by Michael Morales. And I think Josh Quinlan is live to knock him out here as well. Now, I'll tell you this. Not a fight I'd be betting on. Because Josh Quinlan has lost 2 straight, and he hasn't been able to snap back into it since taking his first pro loss. Can he? Maybe. Fugitt's got that win over Kinoshita. I mean, that didn't really age well because Kinoshita turned out to actually be terrible. I'm going with Josh Quinlan. I think he finally rights a wrong. I think that Fugitt's going to come in reckless, and I think Fugitt's going to get caught. Like, maybe Quinlan by KO, if it's like plus 300 or more, might interest me. But if it's plus 175, absolutely not. Josh Quinlan to land a clean shot and flatten Adam Fugitt is the call. The odds for the fight, even. Minus 118 Quinlan, minus 102 Fugitt. You see him at minus 112 there. Depending where you're at, you can find him as a minus 102 underdog. So the odds are essentially even for this matchup between these two. I see it as a sensible even line because of Quinlan's like lack of savage in recent fights, and Fugitt's just absolute chaotic style that gets him punched in the face a lot. Over under, maybe under 2.5, but I don't know about over 1.5 at minus 210 or under 1.5 at plus 170. I don't love either. I like under 2.5 more. I think Quinlan's going to find the chin. I think Quinlan's going to knock him out. I'll pick Josh Quinlan in this fight here. He does have KO power, and he could be calculated and technical and outstrike Fugitt. And it's not like I see Fugitt double-legging Quinlan and beating the shit out of him from top. I think Josh Quinlan, finally, his testosterone levels are back to normal after the steroid abuse, and he's ready to get a UFC win. So give me Josh Quinlan. Give me a vicious knockout over Adam Fugitt, who I just think is incredibly buns. Next fight on the card, Asu Almabaev versus Jose Johnson. I'm picking Asu Almabaev. I am going with the EV. The EV side for the win. Earlier, I had the OV side for the win. You know what? There's a couple cards where I kind of went away from myself, and every time I have, it's cost me. I'm not doing that. Asu Almabaev is a way better wrestler than Jose Johnson. But you want to know a cool fact? Jose Johnson started his amateur MMA career at 0-5, dog. 0-5. 1-7 at one point. Then he finished like 24-13 or 25-13 as an amateur. Jose Johnson is a super experienced fighter. He's a dangerous journeyman. He's got good kickboxing skills. He's fast. But you know what he doesn't do? Use his damn reach. He likes to close the distance and fight like a guy that's a foot shorter than him. You know who that's great for? Asu Almabaev, who's a short fighter who needs to be tied up in the clinch, landing takedowns. Almabaev is going to get him down and dominate. I'm picking Almabaev by submission. He's going to pull this one off. It should be pretty clean W on the way for Asu Almabaev. Takedown, control, ground and pound. Jose Johnson tries to scramble, maybe scrambles a bit. Reset by Almabaev, stays on top, finds his half guard side control. You get what I'm saying. On and on and on from there. He'll gas Jose Johnson out and he'll win by submission. And let me tell you this, Jose Johnson, I have not seen, I was digging through his pro record, him ever fight as a flyweight. He's a former bantamweight. He's fought as large as, I think, lightweight. I don't think this is a great move for Johnson. A 6-foot flyweight? I'm not 100% confident he makes weight, but I will tell you he was supposed to fight at flyweight in April. He had a fight booked before this that fell through. So maybe his body is truly ready to rock here at 125 pounds, but I still think 6 foot 125... Not good. Not good. Only a few rare breeds will be able to consistently pull that off. And it's not like Johnson's been doing that his whole career. He's cutting to 25 at 29. I think he's going to gas out, and I think Almabaev's going to strangle him. So I'm going Almabaev win by submission, and I'm pretty confident he pulls through. Again, wide favorite, but high confident. Minus 400 for Asu Almabaev. Jose Johnson plus 300. Yeah, we're going with Almabaev for the W via submission. The over 1.5 is minus 195. I could see it going a little bit over. I know Jose Johnson was submitted quick by Damon Blackshear, but Blackshear is a good grappler, and he's a lot larger than Almabaev. I could see Almabaev taking his time before finding the sub. If Jose Johnson's jiu-jitsu defense is solid too, he could get out-wrestled for 3 rounds. But either way, Almabaev is a very confident pick, and it matches the odds, man. Huge favorite that should pull through. Asu Almabaev for the W. Let's keep on running up the card. Our next fight is Miles Johns versus Douglas Silva de Andrade. I won't lie. I've been flip-flopping, tossing and turning on this fight. But I said, you know what? I'm going with my initial lean, which is Miles Johnson wins this fight by an extremely hard-fought decision. Douglas Silva de Andrade is nearly 39. He hasn't fought in a year. Miles John's been doing his thing. In the past 8 months, he's got 2 fights, 2 wins. He's on a 3-fight win streak. Miles Johns is 30 years old. He's just entered his prime. He's got a great record, 14-2. Really, it's 15-2 if you count that Argueta win. Miles Johns can wrestle, he can box, he's got power, he keeps a high pace, he's in pretty good shape. That Cody Gibson fight, he was looking tired, but he still was able to land key takedowns, and he took that fight on very short notice. Miles Johns is getting that, like, competition shift up in just a tad. because Douglas Silva de Andrade is pretty good. He beat Cody Stamann last time, even though he was getting his ass kicked at the end of that fight. Fight before that, I mean, you can't knock him for a Said Nurmagomedov loss, but still a loss nonetheless. Fight prior to that, Sergey Morozov win, but he got rocked in that fight. Gastiano Perillo, not a huge win. Lerone Murphy loss is definitely not a bad loss. Douglas Silva de Andrade has good movement. He's pretty jacked and stocky, but he actually kicks real well. Nice spin body kicks too. I feel like Miles Johns has a good chance to tie up with him, outmuscle him, outpace him a bit, land some big punches. I think Johns could drop Douglas Silva de Andrade. So I think for Johns, doing damage in this fight will lead him to a victory. I'm going Miles Johns by a decision, but I do think he's live to knock Douglas Silva de Andrade down. He got dropped by Stamann. It seems like every time somebody's getting closer and closer to putting him out. Maybe Miles Johns is the guy to put him out. But either way, a big shot by Johns is highly likely, and he can follow up with good grappling control and beat you up. So give me Miles Johns to win. As far as the odds, even money, minus 105 for Miles Johns, minus 115 Douglas Silva de Andrade. So the ever so slight Miles Johns underdog pick. The over 2.5 rounds is minus 200, probably over 2.5. Johns very close money favorite. I think he pulls through. Silva de Andrade, like I said, the fact that he's almost 39 now. Miles Johns is 30. He's come into his prime. He's on a 3-fight winning streak. I like what I'm seeing from Miles Johns. In Douglas Silva de Andrade's third round that year ago, he got the shit kicked out of him. So he's not coming into this fight with massive momentum, having to like beat the shit out of Stamann. A lot of people booed that decision afterwards. It was a close fight, and Stamann finished strong, but Silva de Andrade still got it at the end. I think Miles Johns can win a decision. So we're going Miles Johns with a hard-fought decision win as pretty much an even money underdog here in this fight. Next fight on the card, we have our featured bout of the night, Lucas Almeida versus Timothy Cuamba. I'm picking Timothy Cuamba. Lucas Almeida is actually a pretty flawed fighter, and when you start looking back to a lot of his UFC fights, there's a lot of vulnerability moments. A big vulnerability that Lucas Almeida has is simply lacking of head movement and standing super upright and tall. He does throw hard shots, but he's sitting right there to be countered. Timothy Cuamba is definitely the slicker kickboxer. Almeida has more of that old school Brazilian Muay Thai style where there's not a lot of head movement. And in a sense, that can work if you have some real scintillating KO power. But Almeida's not the most powerful guy, and he wings shots a little bit wildly at times, and I think it doesn't look good. His grappling is also suspect. He got destroyed against Pat Sabatini. I know Sabatini's a pretty good grappler, but still, Almeida got destroyed by that wrestling level. And I think Timothy Cuamba could take Almeida down. I think Cuamba can tee him up with good shots on the feet. Last time, Andre Fili devastatingly finished Lucas Almeida. So, Timothy Cuamba, like the Balagiocchi loss was like days notice. He steps in and he has a split decision against a guy who was like regarded as a finisher, an absolute savage on the come up, who was supposed to fight Damir Hadzovic, and most people thought he was going to destroy Damir Hadzovic. Fight before that, Michael Stack win. That was like a week before his UFC debut, knockout. Mateo Volgon contender. I think Cuamba's live to win. I'm going to pick Cuamba by knockout because Almeida, even in his UFC win against Trezano, got badly dropped in that fight. And I think Cuamba picks his shots pretty well. He's fairly slick. He can also mix in takedowns, though. Good single leg from Cuamba. So don't be surprised if Cuamba fights very MMA style and intelligent here. Takedown control. If they get back up, he lands some more shots on the feet. Like I could see Cuamba with the mentality of winning on points because he's not going to search for the KO. If it comes to him, great. But he's not going to go swing wild just for the KO. He's going to pick his shots. He's going to be calculated. Maybe the KO comes to him. I could see it in the second or third round. But decision would also be live. Cuamba, money line, minus 180. I feel pretty good about him winning, man. Lucas Almeida's been exposed, and you know what? This is a real statement to Lucas Almeida. He has not shown any improvement since his Contender Series loss to Daniel Zellhuber, right? To now. Daniel Zellhuber, imagine how much better he's gotten since then. I don't think Almeida's really improved. He's 33. He just seems to have kind of flat leveled out, and he's okay. He's teetering on UFC level or not. A loss to Cuamba, especially a knockout loss, to get him released. The under is minus 165. I think the under is live. I'm going Cuamba. The official pick is Cuamba by KO. I think he's going to knock Lucas Almeida out. Almeida's just too hittable. A little bit chinny. Little bit. And Cuamba's slick. So give me Timothy Cuamba by KO. Next fight on the card is our co-main event of the evening. Aliskerov versus Antonio Trocolio. Give me Aliskerov. OV for the W. The OV EVs are going to sweep the card. Aliskerov is going to destroy the short notice replacement, Antonio Trocolio. I get so confused with Trocolio because he was scheduled to fight at, what, 205 last time out? Fight falls through. Let me make sure the opponent was who I think it is. I'm pretty sure it's Umar Sy, right? Yeah, he was supposed to fight Umar Sy in May. Fight falls through, out of it. Before that, this is a long time before that, he was supposed to fight OSP in 2022, light heavyweight. Aliskerov is going to beat the shit out of Trocolio. It's not even going to be a competitive fight. Trocolio got bodied in grappling by Jacob Christmas Volkman. If you don't know who that is, well, he was a fighter in the UFC in like the 2010s era. He had decent wrestling, but he's a damn welterweight. Trocolio looked like this thin at one point. His physique resembled like David Benavidez from boxing type of build. Then Trocolio started taking steroids and he got jacked all of a sudden. Trocolio has a win on Dana White's Contender Series. It was against Kenneth Berg. It was almost 5 years ago. He got him with an arm trial. Who the fuck's Kenneth Berg now? Dude looked like just a tatted up gangbanger style, like a white gangster. And Trocolio got a sub there. He's got decent jiu-jitsu, but Aliskerov is a monster wrestler with big power. Aliskerov is going to shut the lights off. He's going to destroy him. He's probably going to knock him out on the feet, but if he wants, he can beat the shit out of him on the ground too. Trocolio is essentially a dead man walking into that cage. He's getting a paycheck. And he's getting some fucking brain damage. Aliskerov, violent finish. Minus 1,000, minus 800. Yep, makes sense. Under 1.5, minus 190. If Aliskerov does not finish him in under 1.5, it might as well count as a fucking loss for him. Trocolio is an absolute opponent in this fight. Now, I'm not saying that the UFC set it up that way. Ikram was not supposed to fight him. He was initially intended to take on Andre Muniz. I'm not sure Trocolio makes weight. I'm not sure he shows up. Who knows with Trocolio? He hasn't made it to a fight in a long time. He has not fought in 2.5 years. And now you're going to take on one of the most terrifying middleweight prospects on the come-up right now, in Aliskerov, whose only loss is on the, foreign scene to Khamzat Chimaev. And he's an elite Dagestan wrestler with knockout power, coming off a sick win over Warley Alves. Aliskerov is going to destroy Trocolio in the first round. Aliskerov via knockout. This fight's definitely going under 1.5. Main event of the evening. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe it up. We got Perez versus Tatsuro Taira. I'm going to have faith. Tatsuro Taira for the win. I think he's live to get a submission. And we saw Perez drop some consistent submission losses. And then with Mohamed Mokaev, he showed some promise again. He went the distance there. He did get out-wrestled a bit. But I will tell you, Mokaev's jiu-jitsu is not nearly as good as Tatsuro Taira's jiu-jitsu. Yes, Mokaev has great wrestling. You could say, oh, but Mokaev had a hard time getting Perez down, so Taira won't be able to get him down. I think Taira will approach the grappling differently, and I'll also say Tatsuro Taira has snapping straight shots. Perez can get caught with those straight shots by a long guy. Taira is starting to find his knockout ability. Last time out, he beat the shit out of Carlos Hernandez and he dropped him on the feet. Fight before that, the Edgar Chairez fight. And I think this fight is going to be everybody's red flag fight. I want to say some things about Chairez to take into consideration. Chairez is actually a decent prospect, even though, the record on paper being 11-5 now, after he beat Daniel Lacerda. He's a decent prospect at flyweight. He's tall. He's got a 2.5-inch reach advantage over Tatsuro Taira. That's not a common thing. And let's not act like Taira didn't dominate most of that fight on the ground. And Chairez is known for good jiu-jitsu. Perez is a more normal-sized guy in the flyweight division. 5'6", 65.5-inch reach. Good wrestling base, heavy low kicks. I could see Taira getting touched up with some leg kicks here. But I think Taira is going to show improvements in this fight. I think he's getting better with time, and each fight he's improved upon. So I really lean Taira to find a clean shot that hurts Perez and then jumping on him and getting a submission. I'm going to go Tatsuro Taira by sub in this main event. Perez is coming off of a sick knockout of Matthias Nicolau. He absolutely flattened Nicolau. But that punch, as clean as it was, I don't think that punch would drop a guy like Tatsuro Taira. I think Matthias Nicolau has a weak chin. I think Taira could take that same shot from Perez, come back and deliver a cleaner one. I think Taira will get Perez to the ground, whether it's dropping him and getting him to the ground or landing takedowns. And when they get to the ground, the exceptional jiu-jitsu skill that Taira has will be extremely impressive here. Tatsuro Taira has legit top game in jiu-jitsu. Like, I'm telling you, from top position, positional knowledge, control, and then submission finishing ability is extremely high caliber. And we've seen Perez submitted a couple times. And I know it's against the best. I know it's against Figgy. I know it's against Pantoja. I understand. But I think Tatsuro Taira's got great potential. And at 24, I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say he pulls it off against Alex Perez by submission in this main event. Now, as far as the odds, Taira's the favorite, minus 190. Perez plus 165. I'm not into the main event bet. I think there's much better bets to make on this card with high confidence. I'm picking Taira to win, but it is a little bit of a faith-based pick because we've never seen him fight somebody to the level of Alex Perez. But from the skill set that I see, I think it transfers over nicely here against Alex Perez, and I think he wins. It's me, Tatsuro Taira. Boom. He gets it done. Post-fight interview, banger, and I really believe Tatsuro Taira could be the most exciting contender on the come-up in the flyweight division in years, man. The over 2.5 is minus 150. Could go over. Could definitely go under. If Taira gets dominant position in the grappling, he's going to finish Perez. Perez's defense has to be exceptional. Even though Mokaev has better offensive wrestling than Taira, he does not have better jiu-jitsu. He does not have better submission finishing ability when they touch the mat. And that is why I'm picking Tatsuro Taira, because when they touch the mat, I think he's going to show a different level to Alex Perez, and I think he's going to find a submission win. So Tatsuro Taira to win the main event of UFC Vegas 93. I'm going with the prospect on the come up, and I'm believing in Japan. We also just heard that Kaya Skura was signed from Ryzen. So some savages coming out of Japan and now fighting the UFC. This is good. I'm excited to see it. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the breakdown for this UFC Vegas 93 card. Smash the likes if you're new, subscribe. Let me know what you thought in the comments. W in the comments if you got nothing to say. I appreciate everybody supporting and tuning into the show. And I'll see you all in the next one. Daily content coming. Keep it locked in. Peace out, everybody.